is something we cannot accept. In my view, and the view of all of us up here, the president has the authority and the responsibility under the Constitution to make sure that we continue to pay our bills. In fact, the 14th Amendment of the Constitution clearly states, quote, it's not ambiguous, the validity of the public debt of the United States shall not be questioned, end quote. Is this?
Nobody has ever done what we've done in the last 4 years.
Their entire economic plan, tax cuts for the rich and corporations.
And record-breaking unemployment.
The worst jobs report on record.
Trump is the only modern president to leave office with fewer jobs than when he took office.
The Trump administration formally asking the Supreme Court to overturn the Affordable Care Act. This could leave up to 23 million Americans without coverage.
I hope that they end. It'll be so good if they end.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion, yes or no?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form. And if I win, we will treat those people from January 6th fairly. And if it requires pardons, we will give them pardons.
It looks like Biden is going to agree with them. As it stands right now, according to the New York Times, they're going to take $10 billion of the $80 billion Congress already approved last year for an IRS crackdown on high earners and corporations that evade taxes, though that provision was still under discussion. So they're going to cut it effectively by $10 billion, according to the last deal. I'm sure that number won't go up between now and when they finally finalize it. Democrats have previously championed the initiative. Nonpartisan scorekeepers have said the funding would reduce the budget deficit by helping the government collect more of the tax revenue it's owed. But Republicans have denounced it, claiming falsely that the money would be used to fund an army of auditors to go after working people. And when they say fund an army of auditors, they mean that quite literally. They have spread the myth that they are going to be giving thousands of guns to auditors who are going to like kick down the door of people who make $20,000 a year because that's how they're gonna raise a bunch of money. This is like the perfect encapsulation of this entire negotiation process. They say that they want to lower the deficit and lower the debt, but they won't do any of the things that would actually do that. So they're not gonna raise taxes, they're not gonna raise money. They've carved out entire areas, including the military, that can never be cut, and then in fact will get additional spending, as we'll show you, even though everything else needs to be cut. And they're gonna cut $10 billion there, even though they know that is gonna result in more tax evasion by the wealthy, specifically because it's going to lead to more tax evasion by the wealthy, and they were elected to protect those wealthy people. Those tax evaders are the same people that are at the cocktail parties that they go to. They are their donors. This is explicitly allowing for more criminality, and it really ties into the point you were making earlier.
By far pay their taxes and they do it honorably. What House Republicans and frankly the Republican Party is concerned about is having IRS agents go after middle-class families and small business owners. When you have that many more agents, it's not to go after the rich. It's to go after the middle class. That's what it's for.
So if you're paying what you're supposed to pay, then you should have nothing to fear.
You would make the assumption that IRS audits are up, that they're putting out more liens on the American people. That's not true. That data's not there.
Of whether, with a pandemic over, billions of dollars you already appropriated that people have not spent for 2 years, to pull that back and give it back to the hardworking taxpayer of America, I don't see how that's even debatable. But only we actually proved today we're spending more on veterans. So let's stop the political games. Let's get down. We've only got 15 days to go. And let's be serious about this. And he agreed with that tactic, yes. Curve inflation. We all know how inflation created in America. Democrats spent $6 trillion more dollars. Every economist will tell you, everybody warned us about it.
Much decreased benefits now, and then food prices are higher than they've ever been. So they literally sit in line for hours for food.
So I'm heading off to Philadelphia, and if you want to ask me a question about the economy, but I'm not going to answer any question about anything else because you never will cover this.
Mr. President, why did you decide to postpone Secretary Blinken's trip? Do you take any blame for inflation, Mr. President?
Do I take any blame for inflation? No.
Right. Why not?
Because it was already there when I got here, man. Remember what the economy was like when I got here? Jobs were hemorrhaging. Inflation was rising. We weren't manufacturing a damn thing here. We were in real economic difficulty. That's why I don't. Thank you.
Mr. President, when and how will you remove the balloon? When and how will you remove the balloon, Mr. President?
The critical piece for me is actually long-term stability. So what the U.S. has done really well with the Inflation Reduction Act is give a 10-year window of certainty around some of the investments we're making. It's also front-end loaded many of the regulatory support that it has given. I think what Europe has done really well is to be able to look at incentivizing both the demand as well as the supply. So I think that's something that Europe has. But what we need is stability, and we need long-term stability because these investments are long-term investments.
But are you
and so finding the right
while?
balance.
Are you?
You said already, I've done my part. Do you think that if there is a breach, nobody will blame you?
Of course, no one will blame me. I know you won't. You'll be saying Biden did a wonderful job. I know you.
Would you be blameless in a default situation?
On the merits, based on what I've offered, I would be blameless. On the politics of it, no one will be blameless. And by the way, that's one of the things that some are contemplating. I actually had, well, I got to be careful here. I think there are some MAGA Republicans in the House who know the damage that it would do to the economy. And because I am president and presidents are responsible for everything, Biden would take the blame, and that's the one way to make sure Biden's not reelected. Thank you.